Mom, I just wanted to let you know I sold the beach house. We're leaving for Europe tomorrow. For a few seconds, I said nothing. I just listened to her voice and the sound of traffic behind her. That house wasn't just wood and paint. It was where I planned to spend the rest of my life. My daughter didn't ask how I felt. She didn't even pause. She hung up, and that was it. I sat there, phone in my hand, staring at the empty wall. Everyone thinks betrayal comes with shouting or anger, but sometimes it arrives in a calm voice that calls you Mom. That night, I didn't cry. I just decided something. If she could erase me from her life that easily, then I could learn to fight back, quietly and one step at a time. After the call, I sat in the kitchen for a long time. The clock on the wall kept ticking. It was the only sound in the house. I made coffee just to have something to do with my hands. It went cold before I touched it. The beach house had been in my name for years. My husband Jack bought it before he died. He used to say it would be our last place. Every corner of that house had his fingerprints on it. And now my daughter had sold it just like that. At first, I thought maybe she was joking. Maybe it was some misunderstanding. But when I checked my email later that night, there it was, a notification from the county registry. The deed had been transferred to a company called North Shore Development, LLC. I didn't recognize the name. I didn't sleep that night. I read every email, every message, trying to figure out how she did it. My name was still on most of the other properties, but this one, it was gone. In the morning, I called the title office. The woman on the phone said the sale had been completed a week earlier. She sounded polite but distant, like she was talking about the weather. Yes, ma'am, the transaction is final. The deed was notarized in person by a Mr. Cole Harris. Do you know him? I knew the name. He was my daughter's husband. I thanked her, hung up, and sat there again, this time with my hands shaking. It wasn't about money. Jack had left us enough to live comfortably. It was about trust, the kind that breaks once and never comes back the same. By noon, I decided to call someone who still believed in doing things the right way. Reed, Jack's old attorney. He answered on the second ring. "Mrs. Hale," he said. "It's been a while. How are you?" "Not great," I told him. "I think my daughter just sold my property without permission." He was quiet for a second. Then, "Come by tomorrow morning. Bring any documents you have. We'll sort this out." That night, I opened the old box of papers Jack had left me. Tax returns, investment notes, letters. At the bottom was a flash drive. I didn't remember seeing it before. It had a small label in Jack's handwriting. Trust. My hands went cold again. I plugged it into the computer. Inside was a single folder, dozens of PDFs, property deeds, financial statements, and one audio file named For Lena. I clicked it. Jack's voice filled the room. He sounded calm, just like he always did. "If you're hearing this, Lena, it means I'm gone, and you're going to need these files sooner or later. I set up a trust. Not in our daughter's name, not in mine, in yours. If anyone ever tries to move assets without your consent, Reed knows what to do." He paused. "And Lena, if it's Mia, forgive her, but don't make it easy. She's stubborn like me. Let her learn what losing something feels like." The recording ended. I sat there in silence, my throat tight. Jack had known. Somehow, years before any of this happened, he'd known. The next morning, I drove to Reed's office in downtown Portland. The sky was gray, the kind that makes everything look washed out. He greeted me with a firm handshake. "I remember Jack talking about you," he said. "He said you were the only one who could out-stubborn him." "Apparently not," I said. I showed him the documents, the audio file, the transfer record. He studied everything carefully. "North Shore Development," he said. "Shell company, registered 2 months ago in Delaware, probably under Cole's control. So what can we do?" "Well," Reed said, "we can file an injunction to freeze the transaction. But if you want to keep this quiet, we can use the trust. That gives us legal ownership. You'd technically still own the property, just through the trust's name. It'll take a few weeks, but we can get it back quietly." I nodded. do it." He looked up. "Does Mia know any of this?" "No," I said. "And she won't. Not yet." Reed leaned back in his chair. "I see. You're planning something." "I'm planning to let her live with what she's done," I said. "For a while." He didn't argue. He just nodded slowly. When I left the office, it had started to rain. Portland rain isn't dramatic. It just falls, steady and cold. I walked without an umbrella. It helped me think. By the time I got home, I had made up my mind. If my daughter thought she could erase me, she was about to learn who I really was. Not through anger, not through shouting, through patience, through silence, through control. Reed called 2 days later. He said, "You might want to come in. I've gone through everything on that flash drive." When I arrived, he already had the documents printed and spread across his desk. He looked different this time, serious but with a faint grin, like a man who'd just found a secret he couldn't wait to explain. "Your husband was a smart man," he said. "He set up a trust in your name 10 years ago. It owns every property you two bought after 2009. The trust still exists and it's active. The only person with authority to make changes is you." "So the sale of the beach house was illegal," he said. "Cole used a forged authorization form. He created a fake digital certificate to make it look like you'd signed electronically." I leaned back in the chair. "Can we undo it?" "Yes, but if you want to keep this quiet, we'll have to play it carefully." "How carefully?" Reed smiled slightly. "Well, for one, we don't tell your daughter anything yet. Let her think the sale went through. We'll file a private claim to freeze the funds before they reach Cole's company account." That was when I realized this wasn't just about law anymore. It was about control. For years, I'd been the quiet one, the mother who always said yes, who wrote checks, who avoided confrontation. Now I was learning that silence could be a weapon. Reed slid a folder toward me. "Here, you'll need to sign these forms to confirm your authority as trustee." I took the pen. My hand was shaking, but I signed anyway. "Good," he said. "From this point forward, Lena, you control everything Jack left behind." For the first time in months, I felt something like balance returning. When I got home, I opened my laptop and started reading through the files again. Jack had organized everything with military precision. Accounts, passwords, property codes, even backup instructions in case Reed retired or passed away. He must have known something like this could happen. Maybe not the exact details, but he knew how people change when money gets involved. The next week, Reed sent me an update. "The transaction has been flagged," he said. "The funds from the sale are frozen under federal review. Cole won't see a cent until the court sorts it out." "Will Mia know?" I asked. "Eventually," he said, "but she won't hear it from me." After I hung up, I sat by the window and watched the rain slide down the glass. It was strange. I thought this would make me feel victorious, but instead, I just felt tired. Mia had once been my only reason to keep going after Jack died. She used to call every day, ask if I'd eaten, send pictures of her new apartment. Then Cole appeared, and all of that stopped. He was charming at first. Too charming. When they got married, he started managing her money, her accounts, even her conversations. I should have seen it coming. One afternoon, my neighbor June stopped by. She brought a pie, like she always did when she had gossip. "Did you hear?" she asked. "Mia and Cole are in Italy now. Something about a business project. I saw the pictures she posted. Fancy hotels, expensive dinners." I forced a smile. "That's nice." June looked at me closely. "You don't sound happy about it." "I'm just tired," I said. She nodded, but her eyes said she didn't believe me. After she left, I went into Jack's study. It still smelled like old paper and coffee. I sat at his desk and listened to the audio file again. His voice filled the room. "If it's Mia, forgive her, but don't make it easy." He was right. I couldn't forgive her yet, not while she still thought what she did was acceptable. The next day, Reed called again. "We've confirmed Cole's company is empty," he said. No real office, no employees, just a P.O. box and a virtual address in Delaware. Classic fraud setup. What happens to him now? If we push charges, he could face federal fraud and identity theft. But that means public court, and Mia will be pulled into it. Are you ready for that? I didn't answer right away. I thought of my daughter, her laughter when she was little, her silence on the phone the night she sold the house. No, I said finally. Not yet. Then we'll keep it quiet, Reed said. But the law's on your side. That night, I called the manager of the beach house, a man named Henry who'd looked after the property for years. Henry, I said, I need you to check on the house. Make sure no one moves in or changes anything. It's still mine. He hesitated. Mrs. Hale, I thought it was sold. Just do it, I said, and keep it quiet. He agreed. When I hung up, I realized how calm I sounded. Like this was routine, but inside I was boiling. A week later, Reed confirmed it. The house is officially back under your trust. Cole doesn't know it yet. I thanked him, then closed my eyes. Mia was still in Europe. She hadn't called. But I knew it wouldn't last. Sooner or later, the kind of man Cole was, he'd run out of money or lies or both. And when that happened, my daughter would come back. When she did, I'd be waiting. Not with anger. Not with forgiveness either. Just with the truth. 3 months passed. I didn't hear from Mia once. I saw her face only through other people. A picture online, a message from someone who still followed her. She looked thinner, her smile forced. Cole was always beside her, holding her hand like a trophy. Reed told me the investigation into Cole's company was moving fast. The Federal Financial Crimes Unit had flagged several offshore transfers connected to North Shore Development. He said, Cole's smart, but not that smart. They'll catch up with him. I said, let them. I didn't want to ruin him myself. I wanted the truth to do it for me. Then, one rainy morning, Reed called again. His voice was steady, but I could tell he'd been waiting to say this. Cole's gone, he said. He disappeared 2 weeks ago. The European bank froze his accounts. He left your daughter behind in Rome. For a moment, I didn't speak. I just listened to the sound of my own breathing. She's coming home, he added. I thought you should know. That afternoon, I stood by the kitchen window watching the street. It had been years since I'd waited for anyone to come home. I didn't know what I'd say when I saw her. I didn't know if I'd hug her or just look at her. 2 days later, June came to my door. She didn't bother knocking softly this time. She's back, she said. I saw her at the grocery store. She looked awful. I nodded. Thank you, June. You're not going to see her? Not yet. June hesitated. You're a stronger woman than me. When she left, I finally sat down and wrote Mia a short message. Come home when you're ready. The door is open, she replied the next morning. Can I stay for a few days? Yes. When I opened the door that evening, I barely recognized her. Her hair was darker, her face pale, her clothes wrinkled. She didn't carry designer bags anymore, just one worn suitcase and a look of exhaustion that went deeper than her eyes. Hi, Mom, she said softly. I nodded. Come in. She stood in the hallway for a moment, as if waiting for me to shout. I didn't. I just pointed to the guest room. You can stay there. There's food in the fridge. She nodded. Thank you. That first night, she barely spoke. She ate a little, showered, and went to bed early. I sat in the living room, listening to the quiet. The next morning, I found her sitting at the kitchen table, staring at a cup of coffee she hadn't touched. I don't know where to start, she said. Then don't, I said. Eat something first. She tried to smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. You already know, don't you? I know enough. He left, she said. He took everything. The money, the accounts, even my passport. I had to go to the embassy to get back here. I didn't interrupt. I thought I was helping him, she said. He said the investments were real. He said we'd be rich. And then one morning, he was gone. No note. No explanation. I waited a long time before I spoke. You trusted him more than you trusted me. She nodded, her hands shaking. I know. That night, I heard her crying in her room. Quiet, but real. The kind of crying that comes when there's nothing left to explain. Days passed. She started cooking dinner sometimes, cleaning, folding laundry, small things that didn't need to be done, but she did them anyway. Then one evening, she said, I need a job. I looked up from my book. What kind of job? Anything. I just need to work. I can't keep depending on you. I thought about it, then said, There's a cleaning service downtown. I can call them for you. She blinked. Cleaning offices? Yes. I've never done that. You'll learn. She stared at me for a long moment. Then she nodded. Okay. It took her a week to get hired. Minimum wage, evening shifts, long hours. The first night she came home after work, she looked exhausted but strangely calm. It's hard, she said, but not as bad as I thought. I said, hard work never is. We didn't talk about Cole again. We didn't talk about the house. We just lived quietly. One night, while she was out, I called Reed. How's everything with the trust? I asked. All clear, he said. The assets are secure. Cole's case will go public soon, but your name is protected. And Mia? She's not listed in anything. She's safe, legally speaking. I thanked him. Before hanging up, he said, You're really going to let her live like this? Working nights, struggling, thinking she's broke? Yes, I said. She needs to rebuild herself before she learns the truth. Reed sighed. You're tougher than I thought, Lena. Not tougher, I said, just done pretending. The next morning, Mia left early for work. I stood by the window again, watching her walk down the street with her worn-out shoes and a small thermos of coffee. For the first time in a long time, I felt something close to peace, because I knew she was finally starting to understand what life costs when you take everything for granted. And when she was ready, when she had earned that understanding, I'd be ready too. Ready to tell her everything. Mia had been working nights for almost 2 months. Every evening she left around 6, wearing the same gray jacket and old sneakers. She came back after midnight, tired but steady. The first few weeks, she barely spoke. Then little by little, she started talking again, about her coworkers, about the people in the offices she cleaned, about how it felt to earn something on her own. There's this woman, Mrs. Johnson, she said one night. She's 60. She's been cleaning buildings for 20 years. Her husband left her with 3 kids, and she still managed to get them through college. She says the job isn't about pride, it's about survival. I nodded. She's right. Mia smiled faintly. She also told me something else. She said there are 2 kinds of people who end up cleaning offices. Those who never had a chance, and those who ruined the chance they were given. Then she asked me which one I was. And what did you say? I said the truth, that I had every chance in the world and threw it away. I looked at her across the table. Her face had changed. The guilt was still there, but so was something new. Humility. That's a good answer, I said. She shrugged. Maybe, but it doesn't fix anything. No, I said, but it's a start. She kept working. Some nights she came home with blisters on her hands, her eyes red from fatigue. I never offered to make it easier. I cooked dinner, left a plate for her, and went to bed early. Then one morning, she woke me up before dawn. Mom, she said, I paid off my last credit card. I sat up. What? I've been saving from my paychecks. It's not much, but I sent the final payment last night. I didn't say anything for a moment. Then I just nodded. Good. She smiled, the first real smile I'd seen in months. That day, June came by again. She still brought pie like she always did. She looked around my house and said, You seem happier lately. I am, I said. Is it because of your daughter? Yes. She's finally learning what I couldn't teach her with words. June sat down and sighed. You're a better woman than me. If my kids sold my house, I'd never let them back in. It's not about the house anymore, I said. It's about who she becomes after losing it. June gave me a long look. "You're still hiding something, aren't you?" I didn't answer. I just smiled. Later that week, Mia came home from work and handed me an envelope. "What's this?" I asked. "Rent," she said. "I know you said I could stay for free, but it doesn't feel right." I opened it. Inside was $80 in cash. I wanted to tell her to keep it, but I didn't. I just nodded and put it in the kitchen drawer. That night, while she slept, I sat at my desk and wrote a letter. It wasn't to anyone in particular. It was more like a plan. The first line said, "Tell her when she's ready." A week later, Reed called again. "I assume you've seen the news?" he said. "No." Cole's arrest made national headlines. Fraud, identity theft, wire transfer violations. He's facing a long sentence. "Does Mia know?" "She will soon, but your name's nowhere in the reports. You're clean." I thanked him and hung up. The next morning, I found Mia sitting at the kitchen table again, staring at her phone. "Mom," she said quietly, "he's been arrested." "I know." She didn't look up. Everything I thought was real. It was all fake. I poured coffee for both of us and sat down. Sometimes you have to lose everything to see what was real in the first place. She nodded, her eyes wet. "I don't deserve your help." "You don't need my help," I said. "You're helping yourself now." She gave a small, broken laugh. "I wish Dad could see me like this." I didn't say it, but I thought about the flash drive, about his voice saying she needed to learn the hard way. For the first time, I believed she actually had. That night, I went to Reed's office. I told him it was time. "She's ready," I said. "I want to show her everything." "Are you sure?" he asked. "You could keep this secret forever. Let her believe what she wants." "No," I said. "Secrets only teach half the lesson." He nodded. "Then I'll prepare the files. When do you want to meet?" "Friday morning," I said. "My daughter deserves to know who really owns that house, and why." Friday morning came with gray clouds and light rain. Portland looked the way it always did. Quiet, tired, damp. Mia was ready before I was. She wore the same black pants she used for work and a plain sweater. She didn't ask questions when I told her we had an appointment downtown. We drove in silence. The windshield wipers moved slowly, the only rhythm in the car. When we reached Reed's office, she hesitated. "Why are we here?" "You'll see," I said. Reed greeted us at the door. "Mrs. Hale, Miss Hale," he said politely. "Please come in." Mia's shoulders tightened. She whispered to me, "I can't afford a lawyer, Mom." I just said, "Don't worry about that." We sat across from Reed's desk. He opened a folder and looked at me, waiting for a signal. I nodded. He turned to Mia. "Miss Hale, your mother asked me to explain something important today. It concerns the property and financial situation that's been causing you trouble." Mia frowned. "There's not much to explain. My husband stole everything, and I lost it all." Reed nodded slowly. "That's true, but not the whole truth. The sale of your mother's beach house was illegal. The company your husband used, North Shore Development, was fraudulent. We've recovered the property." Her eyes widened. "Recovered? You mean she got it back?" "Yes," Reed said. "Your mother never lost ownership. The house and several other assets were protected under a trust your father established before he died. That trust was in your mother's name." Mia blinked several times. "A trust?" "Yes. Everything your father built, the houses, the investments, they've always belonged to her. She chose not to tell anyone, not even you." Mia turned to me, her face pale. "You knew? You knew all along?" "Yes," I said quietly. She leaned forward, her voice shaking. "So when I came back with nothing, when I was crying every night, you already had everything? You could have fixed it?" I nodded. Her voice rose. "Why didn't you? Why did you let me go through all that?" I looked straight at her. "Because you needed to understand what you did to me. You needed to feel what it's like to lose something you thought would always be there." She stared at me, stunned. "When you sold that house, I said. You didn't just sell wood and walls. You sold a part of your father's life. And mine. You treated it like a line on a contract. You didn't ask, you didn't think, you just erased me. I wanted you to see how that feels. Mia's lips trembled. So you punished me? No, I said. I gave you time to learn. There's a difference. The room went quiet. Reed pretended to review papers, giving us privacy. Finally, Mia whispered, "You're right. I was selfish. I thought I was smarter than everyone. I thought love meant never having to ask permission. I was wrong." She wiped her eyes. "But you could have told me sooner." "I could have," I said. "But then you wouldn't have listened." She looked down at her hands. They were still rough from cleaning work. Reed cleared his throat. "There's something else. Your mother has decided to include you as co-trustee, if you want that responsibility. It means you'll help manage the properties and funds under the Hale Trust, but you'll have to understand what that means legally." Mia didn't answer right away. She just looked at me, like she was trying to decide whether she deserved it. Finally, she said, "If she wants me to, I will." "I do," I said. Reed smiled faintly. "Then I'll prepare the paperwork." He left us alone in the office for a moment. Mia turned toward me. "I don't know what to say." "Don't say anything," I said. "Just don't forget what you've learned. Money comes and goes. Character doesn't." She nodded slowly. "I think I finally understand that." When we walked out of the office, the rain had stopped. The streets were still wet, reflecting the traffic lights. We didn't talk until we reached the car. Then she said quietly, "Dad would have been proud of you." I smiled a little. "He'd be proud of you too." She laughed softly through her tears. "I doubt that." "I don't," I said. "He always believed you'd find your way back." We drove home in silence again, but it wasn't the same silence as before. It wasn't heavy anymore. It felt like space. Space for something new to start. That night, she came to my room. "I've been thinking," she said. "I don't want to live off the trust. I want to keep working, at least part-time. Maybe study again. Maybe do something that actually helps people." I nodded. "That's your choice. That's what it was all for." She smiled. "Then it was worth it." Spring came slowly that year. The rain stopped for a few weeks and the days grew longer. The house felt lighter too. Mia kept her promise. She worked part-time at the cleaning service, but she also started taking classes at the community college, business administration. She said she wanted to understand how things worked before she ever managed money again. She still helped me at home, cooking, fixing small things, organizing papers for the trust. Sometimes we sat at the table late at night, going through bills and bank statements. It wasn't about control anymore. It was about trust. One evening, she looked up from the documents and said, "You know, Mom, it's strange. I used to think money made life easier. But now I see it just makes people show who they really are." I nodded. "That's why your father planned it this way. He wanted to protect you from what money can do." She smiled softly. It worked, just not the way he expected. After the meeting with Reed, things settled. The house at Cannon Beach was officially back under my name. The investigation against Cole was still ongoing, but I stopped reading the updates. I didn't need to know the details anymore. He was gone. Mia was here. That was enough. One Saturday, I drove her to see the beach house for the first time since it had been sold. The air smelled of salt and pine, the same wind that used to carry Jack's laughter. Mia stood on the porch for a long time, just looking at it. "It's smaller than I remembered," she said quietly. "You were younger then," I said. Everything looked bigger. We went inside. The furniture was covered in white sheets, the windows dusty. But the view, the ocean stretching endlessly, was still the same. Mia walked from room to room, touching the walls with her fingertips. "I remember this kitchen," she said. "Dad used to make pancakes here." "Yes," I said, "every Sunday." She smiled, then wiped a tear from her cheek. "I don't deserve to be here. she whispered. Maybe not, I said, but you're here anyway. What you do now decides if you get to stay. She looked at me, surprised. What do you mean? I've been thinking, I said. We have the resources. This house is too big for just me. I want to use it for something that matters. Mia frowned. Like what? Like a place for women who need a fresh start. Women who lost everything. Money, home, maybe family. A place where they can rebuild quietly the way you did. She was silent for a while. Then she said, You want to turn it into a shelter? Not a shelter, I said. A home, a temporary one. I'd call it the Haven. Mia smiled slowly. Dad would have loved that. I think so too. We spent the next months making it real. Reed helped with the legal side, setting up the nonprofit, transferring part of the trust to fund it. June brought in people from her church who wanted to volunteer. Mia handled the paperwork, the permits, the scheduling. She said it was the first time she felt useful in years. When the Haven finally opened, it wasn't fancy. Just 5 rooms, a small kitchen, a garden in the back. But it was clean, warm, and safe. On the first day, a woman named Carla moved in. She'd left an abusive marriage and had nowhere to go. Mia helped her unpack. That night, as we locked up, Mia said, I think this is what I was supposed to do all along. Maybe, I said. Sometimes life doesn't teach us with words. It teaches us with consequences. She nodded. You're good at that. I smiled. You learned from the best. Weeks passed. The Haven grew slowly. Some women stayed for a few days, some for months. Every time one of them left ready to start again, it felt like a small victory. One evening, as the sun set over the ocean, Mia and I sat on the porch, the same spot where Jack used to read his newspaper. She said, I used to think you wanted to punish me, but now I see you just wanted me to find myself. That's all any parent wants, I said, for their child to come back, not the same, but better. She leaned her head on my shoulder. For the first time in years, it felt like home again. We watched the light fade from the water, the waves turning silver. After a long silence, Mia whispered, Mom, do you ever regret not telling me sooner? I thought about it. Sometimes. But if I had, we wouldn't be here now. She nodded. Then I guess everything happened the way it was meant to. I didn't answer. I just looked out at the sea, the same one Jack had loved and thought he'd probably agree. Thank you for listening to this story. If it touched you in any way, take a moment to share it, or tell me what it made you think of. Every story like this reminds us that love isn't about money or forgiveness. It's about learning, rebuilding, and choosing to stay. If you'd like to hear more stories like this, follow the channel and stay for the next one.